You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 63 for December 2019. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John. This is our last show of the year. Oh, wait.
Decade.
Decade.
Felt like we have recorded a lot of episodes this year, but, you know, it's the year of hell.
Yeah. We skipped. Well, we recorded, but we didn't. We just you got to it like I don't want to edit that.
That wasn't that I didn't want to edit. I did edit it. It was just abysmal. So, episode 61 that should never be named again. It doesn't exist. It's magic.
The first version doesn't exist.
No, 62 is what we recorded.
Oh, did we just skip the number?
I skipped the number.
Oh, okay. Whatever. It all works.
Like in 2 years, people will say, well, what was 60, 61? Doesn't exist.
I don't know.
Yeah, we got a lot of links. I got a lot of links for this episode, so if you want to find them.
If you said 63 to 69, I would have read it, and then I would have said, okay, that doesn't look right. But I would have gone with it because I'm not tracking that.
Okay, so if you want to find the links for the shows, Polymatic link/show 63. So if you're wondering what we're talking about, you can go and click that and maybe click some of the links, and you can find the stuff we're talking about.
Follow along as we're talking. Yeah. So hi. You already know my life is tortured with work right now, so it's very super intense, and it's all sort of super jammed for me because of them wanting to launch something immediately in January. This particular app is very. It's not like just basic straight data in through the API to, it's very involved. It's like, well, if this value isn't validated, we need these 3 additional fields captured. But if one of those fields doesn't have this data, then we needed to capture this thing. But if it doesn't do this, we need to capture that thing. And if it doesn't do that, we needed to capture this thing. And then you got to read the serial. And oh, by the way, here we have these new non-standard serial formats from every different manufacturer that have the serial and the part number in it. And you need to scan it, but it's throwing lots of weird junk in there. Oh, you have to figure that out. And by the way, we need you to do this. And if that doesn't work, and that wasn't valid, it's going to go here. And if it doesn't get, that's basically sort of the general.
And
except they want to be able to.
What you're hearing right now is that same thing is like, I've heard that already. It's like the last 30 minutes has been Alan,
Yeah. Yep. And so that's what the problem is that it's a very involved, and it's not a single thing has like 2 or 3 degrees of logic. It has, if you have one workflow here, then you have another 6 degrees. And if it's not that, then it's this thing and has another 4 degrees. And if it's not that, it has only 2 degrees. And then it's these things are based on this next thing. And this is what the workflow is. And that's how the whole system works to make everything flow easily. So, it's very involved, and every time we realize there's an additional set of something, the minutia gets, wider and
you have to do
grander.
more stuff.
Yeah, and it's like stuff. The real thing that catches me is that serial part number combo. They call them 2D barcodes. So when you scan them, they have lots of non-standard ASCII, like extended control characters in them. And so we were scanning the one, and so it's one thing to figure out what to parse when you can figure out what the data's in it, but it's all the data that's also in there that you can't understand. That, like, we were scanning something and it was immediately telling Chrome to make a bookmark, and then it was prompting me to say, oh, what do you want your favorite to be named?
Okay, so you're basically scanning them like the scanner is just behaving like a keyboard, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
And so these barcodes are actually, they're used for
industrial equipment.
But they probably have their own software to deal with these type of items and then scan and stuff. And they have their own software.
Yeah, what they're probably doing is they're using like a WinForm app, right? Not a web app. So those control characters don't fire anywhere in the operating system, but they fire all over the place here. So they want to do everything in a web browser with this complicated stuff. So anyhow, without making all 2 hours about me, I'm being tortured by this process of this sort of onslaught of really complexity soup.
And
That's
in the
basic.
meantime, he's also being tortured by breaking hardware.
Oh yeah, breaking hardware. I bought new hardware. The interface died.
We do have some links. You bought a new recorder slash mixer
Well,
slash everything.
Mixer, soundboard. It's the everything. So first
It's
thing,
the Homer.
it's a digital mixer, right? Which is kind of ironic to say that because the signal comes in as analog, it's not digital, and then it records everything digitally. So I planned when the last soundboard went. I was looking at the L20 as maybe the next thing to buy, and here the price tag is $1,000. Around Cyber Monday, I saw it go down $100, and I was like, I'm not going to pull the trigger. I'm going to hold on to it. I don't need it yet. I'm holding off spending money. Let me just hold on to it in case something happens. That $1,000 could be real useful. So I held off. And then, when Cyber Monday was over, through 2.5 weeks later, in the midst of all of my sort of working a lot of hours, the interface that I moved on to that was temporary and not perfect, well, it finally sort of kicked the bucket not the most recent, but 2 Thursdays ago, I turned it on and it sounded terrible. It sounded like everything was overmodulated, and I wasn't sure if it was a headphone amp or what. So I quick fasted and I bought. I did my recording some other way, and then I quick fasted, and this was the board I was going to buy anyways, and anything else in between was not going to. It was just going to be another of just dump of money, half the cost of this board or something. And it's still going to be the same problems that I've been living with forever, whatever in the previous board or whatever it is. So what's the point? And I had the bandwidth for the cash, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll just pull the freaking trigger. And I pulled the freaking trigger, not like wiring up was going to be a problem, but knowing that this is a really sort of advanced board, and it does a lot of complex things in sort of not the most obvious ways. So as a result of that, it's working. It sounds great.
Yeah,
but
no more echoes, no more things.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
So it's and then more importantly, basically whatever the EQ. So every board has its own kind of chemistry, right? So not all boards, not all environments are equal. So if I hooked up let's say the old board was working. And I hooked everything up as it is today, and I kind of emulated the same sort of EQ. It would still sound differently because the preamps are different, and the electrics are different, and the noise bleed is different, right? Echoes or noise bleed in the recording, whatever it is, it was always different. And so that is not any different from brand to brand. So a Mackie board will sound different than a Alesis or an Allen and Heath or a Yamaha or a Zoom or a Soundcraft. They all sound different. Okay, hold on for a second. I'm going to move this away. Laptop was making noise. There we go.
So you're no longer recording on your MacBook?
I'm no longer recording on my laptop. My laptop. Well, that's what I had to do through the interface. So let's go back. Let's not make my whole technical thing a focus, but let's make it a briefer focus. So the other board I had was a Behringer Xenix or something, and it had like 18 channels or something on that. And you think, oh, that's a lot. I said, yeah, but I got like 5 mics. Then I got to hook up Skype, and then I got to hook up playback. Oh, and then I need multiple outputs. And so those boards sort of become deficient, and they have like 1 or 2 outputs. They have a line output for like, just like a tape recorder, which is not a relevant thing anymore. Or they have like their master outputs, or they have like headphone things out, and that's it. You're there at that point. You got to figure out where and how you're going to be sending that stuff out. So on this board has all the stuff out. Okay, the other thing about the Xenix was it, at least for the first 8 channels, which were tied to phantom power, and be able to hook up for mics or guitar inputs and stuff like that. Those 8 I could directly wire each of the direct pre-floor outputs into an interface that I bought maybe a couple years ago, and it had at least 16 inputs, and it could take those quarter mono inputs in for those 8. So the board basically took each channel and had its own direct output that I could wire directly into the interface. And so from that, when John and I would record, or when I would send something out to Discord or send out, via Skype, whatever it was, I could do all the magic I needed on the board, and then I could use something like Adobe Audition, and through the interface, I could record each basically channel from the interface, which is 1-to-1 on the direct first 8 on the board out, right? And then through some magic, because of that interface had 16, I could figure out how to get like the output from playback and or Skype also wired into that, because that was not necessarily a mic input. But as far as the interface is concerned, I could work some magic to sort of make that, even though the board had limited sort of sound outputs. Okay, so then the interface that I bought could also be sort of used as a live mixer through software, which worked in Windows, works on Macs too. And so I could set my volumes and the compressor settings and all that stuff. And so when the original soundboard died, I had that thing and I didn't have anything else. I had an old Yamaha board, and, it sort of did, the discovery was like that Sunday day or Saturday day or something, right? You and I discovered, I don't know when I discovered it, but I figured it out. And so in our scenario, working directly on the interface was not a problem, but I didn't have a soundboard anymore. So when people were laughing louder of it, pulling down a fader didn't exist. It existed in software. And so I had to have my laptop. So I had to use my laptop to drive the board to pull down those interfaces from the mics. And so, I had to figure out how to rewire everything in a way that I could temporarily live on it. Well, it finally died to a point a couple of weeks ago.
Alan, you've abused me for so long. I cannot do this anymore.
Yeah. And, it's one of those things where it works fine when it doesn't live in a basement where winter does exist. Like, it's cold down here. I don't even know what it is here, but it's like easily got to be in the 60s degree Fahrenheit, whatever that is in Celsius, right? So it's cold down here. And so I get it. The board is just sitting, or the interface, whatever, all the boards, they're just sitting sort of here, in a cold environment or a hot environment or humid environment, because it's a basement. It's, it's like it's done. It's a finished basement, but it's still, this environment is still not perfect. Yeah. So it finally died. And so I pulled the trigger for this new one, and I hope this thing doesn't die. But the one thing it doesn't do well, because it doesn't really natively. It's supposed to, but it doesn't natively, in my experience, work with Windows for me. So I've only had this thing less than a week, and I haven't been home most of the week. So I've not spent enough time with it. Maybe there's something magical that I'll discover.
Yeah,
but as it is right now, I can't figure it out.
Yeah, the L20, that's the Zoom LiveTrack L20 that you bought. How much did you pay for it?
I paid $1,000 for it, and then I bought another headphone amp, which is now a spare, which I was intending in the utopian concept of this was I was gonna in 2020 buy this, do the switcheroo, clean, finish up all the cleanup, do my little final things, and then take that board, take the interface upstairs, connect up to my laptop, then eventually go and buy a mic arm and another, large diaphragm condenser microphone, and set up a little recording setup up there, and then maybe if I do streaming from upstairs, and or if when I record like this Sataku's Life, I could just do it there. I don't have to come down into the studio to do it, and I could do it in the way that I know, which is record, let a audition run, and record right directly off the interface right into that interface, and boom, I'm done. And so, I'd have my recording, I'd be happy, and then, I could edit. I don't have to come down to the studio, and when it's freezing cold, I don't have to work. None of that, right? It's all good. So, none of that turned out to be the case. So, yeah. So, it frees up one of my other field recorders. The F4 that I was recording on. And I have a headphone amp for upstairs now. That's wonderful. But what I still need to do is figure out what I want to do upstairs. The F4 can actually be an interface, and it will work with Audition, no problem, which is ironic. It's a Zoom product, and it does work. I've tested it, but the L20 does not, which doesn't make any sense to me. And it might be just a driver thing. I don't really know. The driver's a year old. Maybe it's just I have too late a version of Windows. I don't know. It doesn't even work as like a native, just giving me, the master mixed down signal. The driver just doesn't, it shows up, but nothing comes through like in Windows.
I had a thing with, I have one of these Behringer USB mixer I use for so I have a board, a Yamaha MG10, which takes my microphones and then takes in the input from a different audio device, so a USB audio sound card thing. And then I have everything out into a mixer that I use for gameplay audio into that thing, so I can get it in my headset, so I can hear myself and hear anybody else and have them on separate channels. All right. So it doesn't all get mixed into the audio signal for the game recording. Now, recently I've been doing that a different way, and then the audio just gets, put into the recording because I'm lazy. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Let's just put it all into the audio for the game recording.
Do a mix sound. Yeah. Do a master output.
Make it simple. But when I try to plug that thing in, I think it's supposed to give me all the different channels as like separate audio inputs, but it doesn't. So I think maybe it's just Windows being a dick. I should hook it up to my Mac, see if that works.
So the way these things work is they advertise, USB audio interface. So there are two. Down at the most cheapest products that cost in your $100, $200 or less range, typically they don't do what you call ASIO. ASIO has patents on it, and it requires licenses, just like surprisingly MP3 does. So, so MP3 format also has licenses. So for anyone who wants to support MP3, in theory, they should be paying for a license to use that. To do that. So great that it became a standard for the world, but really, really bad for anyone. Even a software developer has to be paying royalties to do that, even if you're doing it for free. And for people who are doing it for free, they're probably not paying it at all. And I'm sure that the institute in Germany isn't chasing them down. Regardless. So ASIO stuff is really like, it's great. And this is the thing that allows manufacturers to, make their soundboards and over USB or over Thunderbolt, whatever it is, output, 32 tracks discreetly in one stream into Audition or Reaper or GarageBand or whatever it is. And those are happening over ASIO, not just some kind of USB audio stream that's 2-channel. So your $100, your $50 Behringer little mini, mixers, and they're great, they're perfect, and they say, they also are compatible with USB. They can take it and they can send it out. all they're doing is send you down what we call a master signal, just sort of
Yeah.
the final output.
That would even be great if it were even doing that.
Yeah.
It's just not doing anything.
Yeah, and the board that I had, the ZenX, would do that, but that's not what I wanted. I had audio going out to a recorder, and that was better than, with those streams also have latency. So in this case, this board is capable of it. It just isn't working in my scenario. When I look at the ASIO options, Audition's not on there. And there's a whole bunch of other like recording studio musician mixing software that I don't use, don't have. It's also super expensive stuff to buy to be able to like capture that, if in theory it should work. But at the very least, this should at least provide me that like stereo master or mono output that should be captured by anything in Windows. And so while the driver shows up just fine, the that whole scenario doesn't work out. And maybe I have to uninstall the driver and let it sort of attach to the device and see what happens. I don't know. Haven't had a moment to do that.
This is also the reason why I want to get one of these. Like I'm not looking at the L20 because it's too expensive, but for my uses anyway, I'm looking at the L20 12 because then I can have multiple inputs that I could use, like have like two people in two different Skype sessions.
Yeah.
And then I can mix out the audio that they need and the audio that I need, and I can have them all in separate tracks. And so if somebody doesn't have a recorder on their end, so I could mix in their end later, I want to have everything in separate tracks because I'm kind of OCD about that. Because if there's noise on it, I it's really making my life miserable editing it. Because I'm not. I know you like to mix with the eventual feed, like the master thing, like not on separate. The same thing with art, right? When I do art, I do everything on separate layers. And there's artists that I know that make fun of me because I put everything on separate layers. It's just I think it's the developer part of me that's doing this.
I get it too. I mean, I like when I used to do a lot of animation, Photoshop stuff. Like I absolutely, when I was going and recreating frames that I would go and create the animation, I needed the layers separated.
I'm talking about like there is a part
even for you
of the
as an artist, I get
on
it.
a separate layer. But I like the separation of the source material so I can have the control over every single bit of what I can do with it, right? And for this, when we record, I have you on the left, you on the right, and me on the left for myself, so I can record to the recorder, right? Now, if I were to have this new thing, the L12,
you wouldn't. You would have it separated.
Yeah, I wouldn't have that problem anymore. I could just press record and then get the tracks.
I remember, I don't think it was Zoom. Zoom was, it took Zoom a while to be like a name, and then they were providing really great value for really great price, which makes this sort of the cynic of saying that's not right. That doesn't match up to expectations and market expectations, so therefore it must not be right. It must be something cheap and, about that. So years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I wouldn't look and go, oh, I never want a recorder and the thing. What happens if the recorder dies? That kind of thing. But the value add here is the wiring is so not exposed. The noise floor, the clarity on the separation of the discrete recording of the channels is amazing. And I only really got a sense of that because I recorded something on Thursday night for This Attacker's Life, and I could hear basically when I was doing like just closing up gaps, because I paused for a thought to see what the next thing I was going to say was. I could hear everything through the same mic, right, that I've been using for years. And the quality of this mic sounded better all of a sudden, and the quality of the EQ was better. And after I had tuned it in, it took me a little bit of time to tune it in that night. And so I'm getting a sense of the board, but the point is that the noise floor was like almost non-existent. Now I didn't go in there and go way down a little micro level and say boost it to 100 decibels and see how much noise is in there. But I could totally hear it based on the normal process, as I always do and have been doing for years. I could totally tell the difference. And the interface even provided an improvement over the last soundboard. In one way or another. Again, different EQs, different sort of chemistry was coming out of it. But
is it like you're getting a more of a raw feed?
You're getting a much cleaner, purer.
Is it like a photo when you take a photo? It's like a raw photo, or is it more of like a?
It's more in the leaning in the direction towards like a raw photo versus
or raw video.
Yeah, or right, versus compressed, something with a lot of stuff in between. Because you got to keep in mind that the previous approach I was doing, which is cleaner than most, which was when I was doing stuff for like OG, we go right off the board, right at outputs, the master mix down of all the channels straight into a 2-channel recorder, done. In the case when John and I were doing it, it was going in through the direct out into the interface then into a ASIO stream, into Adobe Audition to record and separate both of us. And they are separate on the board, but there's analog between all the things. There isn't like that thing is through a ribbon cable that is onto a motherboard, and the motherboard is then going directly to a recorder. No, the motherboard is going down through another digital analog converter and going back out through another thing where it's got exposed wiring for the cable, which it can be influenced by an environmental interference around it, including other cables, and the reason that they twist those cables inside is to reduce the field resistance, and then that's got to dangle off the thing and back over the other thing, and then back into and so there's a lot of exposure even through those jacks. That's why sometimes cables, the quality of your cables are important.
Did also the heat of the thing, like the temperature of the thing, influence the quality?
Sure. I would expect to. I mean, if your PC is overheating, it doesn't perform well, right?
No, but I mean, like when the components got warmer, they were more easily taking up interference or something like that.
Yeah, I would think that's a little less because they're like separate physical devices. Now, I mean, obviously, I'm in a really cold environment at the moment, so this board is gonna not be having a heat problem.
No, I'm in the old more analog.
I know the old situation. The other thing is, I had the compressor. So in the old situation, the other soundboard, I had headphone amps that were stacked at the bottom, then a compressor on top of that, and then on top of that, I had the mixer sitting on the whole stack. So the heat and the warmth that was coming from all those things were certainly going to be affecting each other. So one of the things I did here is I bought these sort of glass laptop menu stands, which could rise and fall, and they hold, but I keep them sort of closed up. They're collapsed down to the smallest height, and they have a glass top, and because they have a glass top, that's going to absorb and deal with heat better. So what I did is I bought 2 of them where I could stack them, and the mixer's on the top and the headphone amp is in between, and there's a whole pocket of air, plus they're both sitting on glass, so it's not any heat coming off the boards, or the headphone amp is basically not going to ever have contact with each other. And then I have a whole area underneath the bottom stack where if I need to run wires in and out or something through, I have basically a crawl space.
Do you have a picture of your new setup? Because I think you sent it to me, but you haven't put it on Instagram. I was like, maybe I could make a quick link.
I didn't take a perfect picture of it. I sent it to you, but I didn't put anything on Instagram. I just took like this sort of like fancy with the lights on. Oh yeah, this board's got lights on it.
Yeah, I said
compared to the other ones, right? This has got
more RGB.
Well, there's VU meters for every single fader, and then look, you guys should watch the videos on this thing. I could go in and spend 10 hours on explaining how amazing looking and nice. It's a digital board.
Yeah,
And
but
the whole point of going off on the tangent about it also being a recorder is that there's very little exposure of open wires through jacks and connectors to the air, to anything. It reduces the interference that can happen, and you get a far better control and quality by just keeping it as internal as possible, which allows the recorder to record as a cleaner product compared to something that is popping out of a board and back in through an interface.
So one of the pictures you sent me, there's like I see the board on top, and then I see a headphone amp. It looks like a headphone amp below that, and then on the right of it there is another device. It also has some knobs on it. It's not on the same stand.
Yeah, that is the playback. So last year, I think a gift to myself, or actually it might have been I put on a wish list. I think my roommate got it. It's nothing more than like a $35 Behringer USB interface, and it's real basic. It's okay quality.
This is basically a sound card thing.
It doesn't really. You don't really have any kind of like software to EQ it out, right? You have basic Windows stuff, unless you run it through something like sound. What is it? The VB audio thing, voice meter or something like that. But basically, what I do is I have that connected up to the Steam Deck, the Mini.
Oh, the Stream Deck. Okay.
Yeah, and so through the laptop, which I do on OG, those things are connected
soundboard.
And huh?
And use it as a soundboard.
Yeah, I use it as a soundboard. So I go and I tap and I play whatever the opening, and it goes and it's set. The OS is set that when it knows, one of the things that's nice about Windows 10, you can do sound mixer settings, and I can say Steam Deck and it's only relevant, this interface, USB codec, whatever audio, to only shows up when it's connected in this scenario. And I say, yeah, on Steam Deck, output your soundboard stuff straight to that audio device, and then that is connected on the mixer as playback.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
I'm going to send you a couple more pictures.
You should put them on Instagram so I can link them. That's what people know what we're talking about.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, so I can never... Okay, there you go. I'll send them. Yeah, I guess I could put them on Instagram. I'll do that. So, yeah. So, yeah, you can see in one of those pictures, right, is exactly what John was talking about. So the board's on top, headphone amp. And I bought on Amazon these they're meant for monitor stands, right? They're meant for you to put your laptop underneath and your, And I bought enough extras. I have another set of these things so that when I kind of redo my office upstairs with new monitor and stuff, I'm going to do that. Put my laptop on top and, like the dock underneath and, little stuff like that. And so that I don't have to, so it's appealing looking, but it's also heat separation is, pretty high.
So for if you send me the link of the Instagram post or whatever, I'll put that into the show links, Polymatic links like show 63. For the live track L20, that's Polymatic link / RW, and for the Japanese site it's Polymatic link / RU, and the L12 is Polymatic link / RV. For those things. So
the one note I didn't bring about for this, it has master outputs, but it also has 6 programmable outputs. So on the previous soundboard, you had all these sort of subgroups. So I have like subgroup 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you could kind of route those subgroups to its internal effects or external effects and return the effects and move the effects around and do the thing, so you can make yourself sound like you're in a church, right? We're here, it's real simple. You have those 6 subgroups, and those 6 subgroups could be directly, you have 6 basically outputs, and those 6 outputs can be either told to go to the whole mix down the master or an individual set of channels. So in the case of John, he is on one group that basically has all of the faders minus himself.
Yeah.
So his Skype side never hears himself in the mix, and so then on top of that, the recorder internally is recording both those channels separate, so it's never recording the mix down, though it's capable of doing that. But what I found out, it's either or. You either have the discrete channels or you have the mix down. It doesn't seem to want to do both, which is
as far as you know right now.
As far as I know right now.
Yeah.
But when I hit the master record, it turns off all the individual discrete recording channels. So I don't know. So which is fine. I mean, it's not too bad. You can take all your sync tracks and literally just go into your software and say, okay, create a new track with all of them mixed. It's not that hard. That's what I did for OG this week. So there's that, and then based on that, you can have different sound levels for each of those subgroups. And then this thing also has scenes. So in the case of the scenes, I can go and say, this existing scene, I could record the scene for this, for let's say this Otaku's Life, or the one for me and John, or the one for OG, and I can save each of those scenes, and I can go ahead and preload them, so it puts all of the sound settings back. And there's also little things like the VU, like when you go between A and B, it'll show you what you last were, where your last settings were, and when you go into B, even though you physically have your volume, faders and knobs in a certain spot, it will show you where you were last on B or C or A, so that you can rematch them if you need to, you want to make an adjustment. Otherwise, they're locked in that position.
Yeah.
So it's got a lot of great complexity to it. And so I think those are some of the highlights. So sort of the things that, even with other gear and equipment, I got into $1,000, near $1,000 situation in terms of the cost of collective gear, where it's all self-contained here. And as long as nothing specific breaks where it makes the whole board useless, this is a great solution for now.
Yeah. I intend to use it for another podcast that I'm planning to do with some artists, but they're not all on like good quality microphones, or it's like, so I can have some separation, so I can not have people echoing all over the place and stuff like that, right? It's just I think it's a better solution. Then I intend to get some of those cheapo Windows headless machines, so I can directly connect to them via remote desktop and just put Skype on each one of them, connect them through Skype or Discord or whatever, so I can have them all in separate channels. That's that's the idea anyway.
Yeah. So yeah.
I also got something cool. It's the Beam backpack. It's a backpack with a solar cell on the back. It was a gift, so it's okay. I like it, sort of. The one thing I'm missing is a place for a water bottle, and has some other issues with, like, it doesn't fit my 12-inch iPad Pro, so that kind of sucks. It only supports like 10-inch iPads max. It's kind of annoying, but there's enough space for a 13-inch MacBook and an iPad 12-inch in the actual component for the laptop. It's only supposed to be a laptop in there, but you can just put your laptop and tablet in there as well. I think it's more made for like desktop replacement laptops, like the thicker laptops, than a MacBook sized thing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still reviewing it, as it were. You can find it at Polymatic.media/RT, which is the Beam backpack. It's I think it was a Kickstarter. It's on Indiegogo. So yeah, I don't know. It charges a battery pack and has like connectors on the outside and whatever. Something called a night light, but I don't think that it's supposed to work that way. I don't know. It's weird. So yeah, I guess that's it for the gear part of the
Um,
podcast.
I forgot to mention that I had it on my list for a long time as sort of my early gifts to myself, which I haven't filled it up. I bought one of the Peak Design you know uh, backpacks that's for camera
The
gear.
everyday backpack.
Um, no, I don't even know what it is off the top of my head, and it's a pretty good for putting my camera gear in it. Um, but the only thing is, I wish it had like space for me to like put a laptop or something, because I was further sort of reminded of that conversation in my head when I had to travel this week, where I was like, okay, well, I have a backpack for work stuff, right? I got that. But it would be great if I had something when I'm like traveling where I could put my camera in there and my laptop in there, all together as one self-contained thing. And so and I'm sure they probably make one. I just did buy that one.
I
But that's
have
something new that I got.
I have a good backpack that I bought myself and I love it. It's been the thing that I've been wandering around with since I think 2009, 2010, maybe later. It's called the CompuDay Photo 250 backpack.
Hmm.
It has room on the side for a DSLR and some lenses, and on the inside you can put some other stuff. And it's all separatable. And there's like a pocket for a tablet. There's a pocket for a laptop. It's really padded. I love it. It's from Lowe Pro, Lowe Pro. I don't know if they sell it in the US, but they sell it over here. It's a pretty good backpack. I love it. It has lots of pockets on the front, so you can. It has multiple areas with zippers on them, so you can put stuff in there. You can put stuff in the front bag area, and then you have something on the side. You have a thing for a tripod on the side, or a water bottle, whatever you want to do. And then on the inside, you have lots of space for other stuff like battery banks, like general junk that you need to put into your backpack, and a laptop and a tablet space. So,
Yeah, I need one of those. I bought some Herschels. I bought one that's for like my personal laptop, which is good, but then I filled it up with a lot of cables and a lot of stuff, and it's sort of like,
yeah,
I have different adapters, and it's sort of like a big old mess when you go in there. And well, it's a pretty nice thing. I haven't really traveled with it. I've like, taken it over to a friend's house when I've been away for a weekend, but I haven't like gotten on an airplane with it. And then my work one is more like a traditional backpack, and it's good for that, but it holds a big old same kind of thing, all the things I need for traveling so that I can work remotely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at the Peak Design because I was looking for a new backpack because I need like a new place to put all my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've been looking at the Everyday Backpack. It's got a lot of space for camera stuff, and that's kind of not what I'm looking for because I do have a DSLR and I want to keep it with me. It's just in that beam, whatever thingy, what was it called? The beam backpack. There's no space for the camera. There's not a separate thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant as a camera backpack. And
Oh yeah, I got the everyday backpack. That's what I'm looking at. Peak
yeah,
Design everyday backpack 220L is dot 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 dot. Let me
yeah,
click in there.
20 liters,
Uh,
yes.
20. Oh, why does Amazon do this?
20L
Uh,
is 20 liters.
20L black camera bag. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
really doesn't have any place for like a laptop. It's really meant to be a
Oh,
camera
it
bag.
does. It does have a place for backpack. For
I
a
mean,
laptop. It's on the back.
oh, okay. So maybe I just haven't discovered it yet. It
Yeah,
literally got
it
with all
slides
this work
in.
stuff.
So
With all this work stuff, it just sort of got stuck into a pile.
yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of want to get it. It's a $200
Well,
plus.
actually, you know what? What I realize is there are super expensive. Like I'm sure Peter McKinnon's solution is probably amazing, but his thing isn't $200. It's like $500 or more.
Wow.
Um, and so uh, I mean, it's probably a fantastic thing, but like for me, like $200, I could totally do that without thought. At least at that time, and not worry about it. And it was something I wanted to get so that I had something better. So, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that if I were to do something like this, I would either start with like a more basic backpack and take it apart and make my own, like make something out of like a Franken bag or something like that.
Yeah.
Design my own backpack for optimal storage for me. So yeah, I think that the beam backpack is good for certain things. What I don't like is the zippers. When you open it up, it opens up all the way to the bottom, and then the top just flops down, which is kind of annoying if you have lots of stuff in there, right? The zippers go down really, well, sorry, the zippers go down really fast, and then just it feels like everything is gonna fall out, which is it happens sometimes. I think that's not a great feature for that. That's why I like my other bag, because I have pockets where I can put stuff into instead of it just folding open completely. The cool thing is the solar panel, because you can it does charge stuff. So it has a normal charge, and it has a power, like the fast charge thing, but it doesn't have a battery on its own. I've been looking into getting one of those Nintendo Switch USB-C batteries, and seeing if I could charge it uh, off the solar panel. Well, it delivers like 5 volts, so it's not great, but it could slowly charge that battery pack. And then if I were to want to charge my tablet or my MacBook, right, I could charge it off USB-C and charge it fast. But I've not seen any, like, can it charge off of 5 volts, one of those batteries, the Anchor type things? I've asked them, haven't heard back. So yeah, I kind of want to play with the solar panel. I think it's a fun thing. But during this time of year, we have like a couple of hours of sunlight every day, because it's like winter. Like the sun set at 4 today, so it's the sun rises at around 9ish. You don't have that much time during the day to charge anything, and of course it's cloudy, and it's not really great for solar panels. Then again, the Netherlands never is great for solar panels. We got some other fun stuff to look at, I think.
I have an Instagram link.
Oh, okay.
Polymatic.link/rx. I added it from my cell phone, which didn't allow me to add a description, but John's control of the whole database, so he can go toss that in there if he feels like. But that's just the 2 pictures that I sent to John, during this recording. So I've not clicked it myself. Hopefully it looks okay. But they're not pretty. They're not photo-esque. They're just pictures.
Yeah.
So.
Polymatic.link/rx for the
Yep.
pictures that Alan made. Okay. I thought you were going to add some links today, but you had a little bit of a time issue. So
I have been basically not at home for a very long while. So I didn't really add anything. And in terms of like music or anything like that or fun stuff, I'm sure I have them in sort of the archive. But in terms of like music, any of the artists that I'm listening to, like Orla's released new stuff, and it's good. It's good stuff. But I don't want to be the one who's just always like linking her stuff. So because that is fundamentally the new music that's coming into my life.
yeah.
So that is kind of all that I got going on in terms of that. Because, while I've discovered some other artists, I mentioned them last time. Although we have an episode that's missing, so who knows what I mentioned there. Who I mentioned. It would be new to you guys, but not new to my memory.
Well, I saw some videos that I thought might be fun to share. One of them is Glove and Boots. We've heard of them before. and I thought it was topical because of the gifting. So Polymatic.media/RK, they're gifting one of their crew gifts, but he has to test them.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
there's a couple of episodes of that.
They've been doing less little vloggy skit things and doing more of these sort of no script stuff.
Yeah, but
lately.
I think they were going for like a kid channel, but I think they're backing away from that again. That's pretty good because I don't want them to be a kid channel because then there's no comments and stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think they're better when they're doing more oriented towards adults.
I actually like the opposite. I like when they had sort of structure and this no structure. It kind of, I don't love it.
Well, this is pretty structured.
Oh, this one's pretty, yeah, but it's still done on an improv cycle. The guy doesn't know what he's doing until he opens it up, and then
it's funny. I think it's funny.
Yeah,
especially the fart spray stuff. That was funny. Sorry. I think that's the second. I think that's the second video, but they made another one. I haven't seen if they'd made another one today, but it was part 2, I think. New Minecraft came out. I think you haven't been on in like a while, but
I came on last night.
Okay.
I played for like maybe an hour, and then I looked on the map, and I saw that I think James built this like the inn.
Yeah, he built a giant a tree,
like a big old tree inn thing. I found barrels. I was gonna start filling it up with stuff for people. I was gonna start filling it up with some goods.
Of the south of my base, basically.
But north as far as everyone's concerned in terms of the spawn point. And I noticed this thing on the map because I was curious to see where Badiah had put his base, which I still haven't located yet.
It's on there. You know, I marked it.
Yeah, but the map, it takes forever to sort of generate when I haven't been in there in a while. So I don't know where he is yet. But and not that I mean I could teleport to him and whatever it is. So anyhow, I was doing sort of maintenance stuff. I was trying to get some. You installed the mailbox, so I had sent him some stuff unintentionally, not knowing what I was doing.
Oh yeah, I want that diamond hoe back, please.
Did you send me a diamond hoe?
Yeah, I sent you a diamond hoe back, and I was like, "Huh, what would happen if I click on somebody else's mailbox?" It was gone.
Okay, I gotta look. I don't know.
I made a new one, but you know.
Okay.
Anyway, there's some updates to Minecraft 1.15. We had some trouble because I was on 1.14 and I had like all these cool Optifines, shaders and stuff, and now I don't have them anymore. It's kind of annoying. But Polymatic.media/RL for some updates on what happened with the new Minecraft version. Oh no, that was let's see. Yeah, RL is the Minecraft stuff.
No, RL is the. Oh, you might be right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's been fun. So you just basically decided you do this every once in a while, right? You go ahead and you just sort of Minecraft with a point. In this case, you renamed the server that you lit up this year, or at least this later after this year, and you just renamed it to the OG one, which is fine. And at least 2 OG listeners are hanging out on it. Badiah, which I haven't seen sort of his crafty work yet. And then James, who's also a friend of this show, but also, Otacon's staffer and friend of Matt's, who, fundamentally is, James has a big history. He's actually, I did an interview with him for the film. So anyone wants to see and hear him, you could totally do that. He had a good interview with us. So anyhow, but one of the things his sort of his personal addictions is board games. He loves board games. He knows a lot about them. So you get into a conversation about board games, he knows quite a bit. But the video game that he chooses, and he started from the very early days, is Minecraft. So I was watching you go down into his hall, you went down in one of his halls to see where all his inventory was. You just were having like, oh, I wonder what he's doing here, and you went into his base, and the hall was like about as large as the warehouse I was just in, which is only 700,000 square feet, and his hall must have been longer than that. It just was endless. And so the guy, when he sort of has any free time, he's sort of like a Minecraft master. And so for him to just like build a treehouse in something, and Badiah said, oh yeah, I'm hanging out in the blah 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 inn to the north, and I'm like, what inn? What are you talking about? Like, and I haven't really explored all of the server yet, the world, so I don't know where there's like, the haunted mansion. Like, I haven't located any of those things yet, and so, or I haven't visited them in the time where I've been doing anything. So he built this thing, and I had to go back in for at least 5 minutes to go find it and walk through it and go, oh yeah, this is pretty neat. And when you look from the Dynamap, it looks really interesting.
There's a giant stream of map going up north because I was trying to find a village, and I was trying to find some other stuff as well. I was trying to find bees because I don't have any bees. So eventually I installed a shop so you can trade stuff.
I don't know how that works because I tried to play with it last night.
Yeah, I'll explain it to you. It's like you could sell, like, for example, emeralds, or you could sell wheat for, air quotes, dollars, and then you can trade those dollars for items. So you could say, for example, I want to buy a bee spawn egg for $100.
Yeah.
Right. And that could like help you set up your own bee farm. Right. But if you want to see me play Minecraft and then also see me, Polymatic.media/RM for a playlist for.
But you're playing on a whole different. You're playing basically on your WebDev account that is for just the purpose of the stream, and you're trying to, not cheat your way through it, which is,
Well, I usually don't cheat my way through things.
Right.
Right. It's just that the other account that I have that I play on it with, I've already done so much stuff. Like, I've built so many things. I've automated so many things. I have an entire sorter and stuff on there. It's like I have all the items. Like, I don't need anything else. I have an entire house full of villagers that I boated up a water elevator. It's been insane.
I spent time getting sheep into my secondary. It's becoming my secondary primary base. So I put them in a space and got grass growing. That was a pain in the ass last night. So anyhow, so James has made an appearance, not like on camera, but like in the game while he's been playing. So John sort of occasionally he goes on, he hangs out in the Discord, and then people come in, and John's like, "What the hell is that?" And then James will say, "It's James." And he's like, James? Oh, J-Trade. And so
like somebody appeared out of nowhere, and I have no idea
So it's kind
of
like, it's become like sort of like a little bit of a podcast where it's either me or somebody where we're chatting, and then we're talking about maybe Minecraft stuff, and we'll be talking about other things at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's not a high set of viewers, but it's something. And if you want to check that out, that's what that link is. oglink.com/RM as in Mary.
Yep. And I've got another video, Tesla Valve, Nighthawk in Light. He's explaining how certain forms can cause gases to flow faster in certain directions.
Interesting.
So Polymatic.link/RO for that. And then Baby Yoda is the best. Polymatic.link/RP.
I've not watched it yet. I'm planning on signing up for it. I just not had any free time.
Yeah, if you wait till Tuesday, till Friday, you should be able to binge the entire season in your first week. You can sign up for free for a week.
Oh,
just watch it and then just never repeat it.
I binged all of The Expanse. Well, I did it while I was away, so I basically got almost most of it, and I finished it off when I got back, basically Wednesday night. So I watched
season-
all the
up to
Expanse
season
season
4.
4. Yep. That's good.
Yeah,
It's good.
liked it.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. That yeah, I'm not going to talk about the actual thing because that's spoilery. Another one is single board relay computer, Polymatic.media/RQ. Basically a computer made out of relays and some chips and stuff. It's really cool. It sounds like amazing.
Cool. I'll have to
really
check
cool.
out the video.
It's like somebody's typing on one of those mechanical keyboards, but like it's like doing the instructions, and you can hear the instructions go. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. There was a thought. What's your thought on the Cybertruck, Tesla?
It's kind of ugly, but also kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's very jarring to look at, and then you look at the pricing, and you look at like what you're getting a much. It's ironic is that every time they release a new one, you're getting better price product value, and so some part of me is like, I don't want a truck. It's like that thing is jarring to look at, and then you've seen some good pictures of it, and then I look at the specs, and I go, maybe I don't get a Model 3. Maybe I get a Cybertruck.
I'll send you some
Because
of those,
you get
dangly accessories for trucks.
You get. I've seen some bad stuff, but the memes on this thing. But the thing about it is, if I need to carry a bunch of gear or something, I put it in the payload and I put the thing down, right? And it solves my problem with having to like jam it into a Model 3. The other part of it is there's a tremendous amount of room. 4 people, I think you can squeeze like 6 people in
6 total, yeah.
into the cab comfortably.
Yeah, 3 in the front, 3 in the back.
Yeah, so which is like, So you're basically getting a Model 3 Plus. And so the price points are roughly the same. It's a slightly less. So maybe I get a Cybertruck instead. And I'm not a truck person at all. I was an SUV person, at least in college and in high school. I had an SUV because my father had an SUV that he never drove, and I drove it, and I loved it. So I'm not exactly a construction truck person. But I do like the concept of it being basically a full car, but plus with a payload for when I need to like carry gear or whatever. It becomes sort of a non-conversational issue for me.
If you get one of those, I'm gonna say if you get a Cybertruck, I'm gonna make use of some special truck nuts. Cybertruck nuts.
I'm not there
with
yet.
Flashy RGB LEDs in them.
Whatever cash pile I started restarting at the end of this year, just immediately got $1,000 pulled out of it. So,
anyway, I have some music. I think I've shared Drulu before. Polymatic.link/RS for their latest album, and then another track, Facing the Sea. Polymatic.link/RN for new. Whatever. And then I have another track, which is kind of cool because I thought it was cool. If you've seen the movie Interstellar, there's a track called First Steps, and they did a organ/piano cover. Polymatic.link/RR. It kind of sounds okay. There's some points in it where it's not that great, but I like the idea that they're doing it like for realsies instead of it's just a cover. So pretty cool. Polymatic.link/RR for that. Okay, Alan, where can they find you?
If you got it, you can find me on Twitter. Twitter/CHAESS. It's my last name.
And you can find me on Twitter at WebDevE, WEBDEVVIE. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. The music is by Sayuns, which you can find at Polymatic.link/EK. Our Twitter is The Polymatic. Our website is Polymatic.media. And I hope you tune in next time, which is going to be 2020.